Hi, good evening, class. Tonight is Tuesday, September 5, and you might be wondering why I'm providing you with this video. Well, because there is no class next week on Monday, September 11, because I am out of country, and where I'm going to be, I'm not going to be able to do an online class for you. So I know all of you, or many of you, are like, yes, awesome. And I totally understand that. So no offense taken. I'm going to be in New York for a couple of days. And specifically on the Monday, I'm going to an NFL game Monday evening. And absolutely unable to be on an online call. So anyways, the purpose of this video is to introduce you to the course and take you on a walkthrough of the course outline and the course schedule, assignments, deadlines, all of those kinds of things, and then talk a little bit about expectations and what we're going to be looking at on the following Monday when I return, which will be I guess the 18th. And that would be in person, which is great because I much prefer in-person classes than distance classes. So the first thing I'm going to do, well, I guess the first thing I'm going to do is just sort of introduce myself. So my name is Kevin Young. I'm the instructor for the course, and I've been teaching since 2016. I started with University of Manitoba, and then started with MITT almost, actually it was a year ago. And I also do a bit of teaching. I have taught with University of Winnipeg, and I teach with First Nations University of Canada. And I teach a variety of different courses. Many of them are HR because that is my chosen profession. But I also have taught marketing and project management and business and communication courses and organizational behavior, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I like trying different things. And so that's a little bit about me. And of course, we can have more in-person conversation or more detailed conversation when we are in person on Monday, September 18th. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and take you to the course homepage. And so obviously this is what it looks like. The course is called Ethics, Legislation, and Social Responsibility. I've been in the workforce for 30 years now, approximately 30 years. And I can say I've worked in private sector, public sector, and not-for-profit. And no matter where I've gone, I've always experienced situations where ethics were not always present. Certainly social responsibility wasn't always present. And in many cases, if ethics are missing and social responsibility are missing, then typically there's no legislation requiring it. So in other words, if there's no enforcement, you don't necessarily see any action. So this is the course homepage, and by now you're probably very familiar with my learning and how to navigate through my learning. There are a couple of announcements, recent announcements such as parking, and insofar as the screen that you're looking at, this is me logged in. So when you log in, you may not be able to see everything that you're seeing on my screen, but it's because I'm logged in as the instructor. And if you scroll down, you'll just see my name, and there's nothing actually listed here. And the reason there isn't is because when you go to content and you click on that, you'll be taken to this page. And under the tab Start Here, there is an instructor welcome letter. So if you click on that, it's just a Word document that gives you a little bit more information about my career and the various positions that I've held, as well as some contact information. That's, if you want to read it, you can. There's no requirement to do so. The next tab, which is ultimately the most important tab of all, is the course outline. And I encourage all of you to very carefully go through this because it has all of the critical information that is required. So we'll start off and we'll just take a look at the course description here. So this course explores principles and theories of ethics and the role of corporate social responsibility in human resource management and the organization. You guys are going to examine key provincial and federal HR legislation and the way laws or legislation inform the creation and management of employee codes of conduct. In other words, how we behave within organizations. The analysis of case studies of workplace ethical dilemmas prepare you to identify, interpret, and address ethical issues and trends in the workplace. Perfect. Awesome. And as I said, it's a very important topic because I can't think of any organization or any sector that I've worked in, sectors being private sector, public sector, which is government generally speaking, public sector, and not-for-profit sector. I can't think of any of them where there weren't some ethical dilemmas that I was faced with in an HR capacity. We have, of course, the learning outcomes, which are listed in all of the course outlines. And so here we have 7. We've got, excuse me, we've got it's not COVID, but it's sort of a tickle in my throat. Anyways, number 1, develop a broad view of the function, role, and responsibilities of business and society, including the role of corporate governance and the function of a BOD, a board of directors. Number 2, protect the reputation and viability of the organization by introducing HR programs that enhance corporate social responsibility, build social capital, and follow the board's recommendations. Outline and follow legal requirements through HR policies and practices while promoting organizational values and managing risk. Analyze issues, options, and strategies to ensure HR policies are consistent with relevant legislation and responsible corporate governance, and establish policies as needed. Ensure HR policies and practices allow for the fair and consistent treatment of employees while managing the risk of litigation, lawsuits, and costs. Consider the rights and interests of multiple stakeholders when creating HR policies, procedures, practices. And finally, manage HR information using appropriate tools and procedures in compliance with relevant legislation and standards. Oh, my apologies. I thought 7 was the last one. Encourage members of the organization to use legal, ethical, and sustainable practices in their behavior and decision-making. And finally, reflect current HR ethical standards by exhibiting appropriate professional conduct. And that is, of course, a key role of human resources to demonstrate proper, ethical, professional, diplomatic behavior so that others can mimic that and learn from that. Of course, in every course outline, there's a section on academic integrity. All the work that you do is required to be your own. And if you are caught or found to be in violation of the policy, obviously there are consequences to that. And this includes the use of any form of artificial intelligence. Section on academic policy and regulation, I won't go into. You're free to read that yourselves. And obviously, the course starts on September 11. And then we have the course schedule. So for week one, September 11, now normally if I was still in town, this was going to be an online course, but because I can't be present, it's simply listed as asynchronous, which means that, Monday night, September 11, you log in and start going at your own pace. No course, right? And insofar as week one is concerned, we have under topics, reflect on the behavior of corporations and the resources are chapter one. The textbook is listed a little bit further below, and it's a digital textbook, so the requirement obviously is to read chapter one. And I'm not going to go through every single week, but you get the idea. We have week two, resources, chapter two, etc., and then various topics we'll be covering. And on the right-hand side, various activities, including, as you see in week two, an ethical debate, case studies, preparation for group presentation, etc., etc. So we're going to scroll down, paying specific attention to week 7, which is October 23, and therefore there is no class week 7, because you can see in the blue section there are no classes the week of October 23 to October 27, because it is Student Success Week. After that particular week, we resume with week 8 online, and the course schedule continues until the very end, which is week 14. And you can see there are various assessments, such as individual presentations. There is a final exam, I believe, as well. There is a midterm exam that is in week 6. And more information to come on that. So once we get through the course schedule, we have the textbook. So you can see the textbook is 2017, and it is called Canadian Business and Society, Ethics, Responsibility, and Sustainability. It is the 5th edition, and it's available through, well, you can get it through the University of Winnipeg, but you can go online as well. And the publisher is McGraw-Hill. I won't really touch upon the grading policy, because presumably you already are aware of the grading policy, and once we're in person, you can certainly ask me any questions related to grading on Monday, September 18. Missed and late assessments. Just, just don't miss a deadline. If you miss a deadline, chances are you'll get a 0. So don't miss a deadline, and you don't have to worry about it. We have the next section here, which is a table on the actual assessments or evaluations. We've got short post-lecture papers worth a total of 15%, and these are throughout the course. We've got a group presentation worth 15%, and that is due class 5. Midterm exam worth 20%, class 6. An individual presentation, which is also worth 20%, and that is going to be in the last 2 classes of the course, class 13 and class 14. And finally, there is a final exam worth 30%, and that is found in class 12. So now we have short descriptions on the actual assessments. We start with the short post-lecture papers. And here we have a total of 5 short papers are assigned at the end of class for students to have completed for the following class and graded on your ability to follow instructions, apply the concepts from the course, show insight into the situation or company discussed, and clearly communicate your ideas. We have the group presentation, and here groups will be made in class. You'll be researching a company's ethical record and actions as outlined in the assignment. You will share your findings with the class on the date indicated. A peer evaluation will also be used, and you must fully participate in the research, teamwork, and the presentation. For the midterm exam, it'll be held at the beginning of class 6. The format is fill in the blank, short answer and long answer. And chapters 1 through 7 will be tested, and you'll have 90 minutes to write the exam. And I'm just looking to see, so if that's class 6, if we scroll up, you will see class 6 is October 16, and that is in the classroom. So it's not done at home, it's not open book, it's done in the classroom. And as mentioned, you'll have an hour and a half to complete it. The individual presentation, this is a comprehensive assignment for you to show your knowledge from the course, and you'll present your findings in a 10 to 15-minute presentation. As well, you'll submit a professional slide deck and your speaking notes. And then finally is the exam. At the end of the course, we're 30%, and this is found in week 12 or class 12, and this includes fill in the blank definitions, short answer questions, long answer, and a policy writing question. And it is not a cumulative exam. So in other words, from chapters 1 through 7, which you're tested on for the midterm exam, you don't have to worry about chapters 1 through 7. For this exam, it's the continuation of the textbook, chapters 8, 10, 11, 12, and 14 and 16. And you'll have 135 minutes to write the exam. And that's class 12. And so if we scroll up and we take a look at class 12 or week 12, it's listed as online. So that is for your information. We continue scrolling down past the assessments. You have the grading schematic and the GPA values and policies. I'll just talk a little bit about attendance. Attendance is required. And so attending class regularly is a significant factor in students' overall academic performance. Any class session, activity, or class missed, regardless of cause, reduces learning opportunities. Failure to attend may also impact a student's participation and engagement grade, which is typically worth 10% in each class. Now, in this particular class or course, there is no participation grade, but it says, should class be missed, it'll be the student's responsibility to catch up on the missed work, and if 3 consecutive classes are missed in a row, students may be subject to a meeting with the academic coordinator. So I do keep track of those attending, whether it's online or whether it's in person, and when necessary, I do involve the program coordinator so that there is a discussion between that particular student and the program coordinator. So again, attendance is required. If you are unable to attend, please reach out to me in advance of the class to let me know that you are not able to attend. And as mentioned, if it happens regularly, then I'm required to involve the program coordinator. We have my contact information. My email address is listed there. And of course, I will return all emails within 12 hours. So I am pretty fastidious on that. So feel free to reach out to me at any time. And the rest of the course outline, you can just take a quick look. But I've covered the most important pieces. So that's the most important document, the course outline, including the course schedule and all of the deadlines. Moving over on the tab above next to content, which is what we're in right now, and just moving over to the assignments tab, you'll be able to see a list of all of your assignments for this particular course. Now, I'm not going to, let's see here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 short lecture papers. I'm not going to go into each one, but I will take a look at one just to show you an example. And so this is kind of what it looks like when you click on it. And so here we have some information, assignment overview. Throughout the course, you're required to read and analyze various chapters from the textbook. And this assignment aims to enhance your understanding of concepts and theories out of the textbook as they pertain to HR management. Your task is to submit a well-structured chapter summary and analysis for each assigned chapter. And then it goes on to provide some very specific instructions, such as chapter summary. You're going to, in 200 to 300 words, write a concise summary of the chapter. And then further to that, there's a chapter analysis. Address the following points: relevance, key takeaways, application, strengths and weaknesses, connections, and finally, there is format. And then there will be a rubric. So if I click on evaluation and feedback, and we click on the lecture paper, you can see this particular rubric. You have the first, which is based on the chapter summary, out of 4, excellent, good, satisfactory, needs improvement. All of them are out of 4. So you have a chapter analysis, you have clarity and organization, grammar and writing quality, engagement with course concepts with a little description below each one, and then the overall score. So the rubric essentially is what I will be using to grade you. And again, for this particular, for these short lecture papers, you can obtain either excellent, good, satisfactory, or needs improvement. So I'll just get out of here. So that's an example. Did I just get out? Should I want to? Yes, I am. Sure, I want to describe the changes. That's an example of a short lecture paper. Then if you remove all the short lecture papers, we have 2 things left. We have the group presentation and the individual presentation. So we'll take a look at the group presentation, and we'll have, similar to the short lecture papers, we'll have a list of instructions found within this box. And here we are. The objective: students will research the ethical issues of a particular industry and deliver a 15-minute presentation. Goal is to increase the entire class knowledge of important business issues. So as a team, you will visit the Corporate Knights website. The instructor determines the groups. Each group shall work with the instructor to choose a different industry. These are called channels on the website. The issues presented on the Corporate Knights website shall be summarized for the class presentation. You'll indicate the sources of information right on the slides. In addition to providing information, you must provide the possible implications for business. And the students may have to perform and cite additional research to ensure a 15-minute presentation is given. A PowerPoint slide deck must be created. Each member of the group must present an equal portion of the content. Students will have the opportunity to do a peer assessment, and presentations will be done in the same order as selected in the draw. Let's see here. Yeah, so essentially, once you visit the website, the Corporate Knights website, number 4 is really where the work begins. I mean, you choose an industry, but then from Corporate Knights, the issues presented on that website shall be summarized for the class presentation, and that's really what you're going to be focused on. So that's a little bit of information on the group presentation. Whereas or I should say, in addition to the group presentation, we also have the individual presentation. And so a little bit about that, we're going to take a look here, very similar to the group presentation objective. Students will research a topic, report back on the ethical and legal issues present from an HR perspective. And the first step is discuss your topic idea with the instructor. Some examples. You might look at ethical issues with global talent, with technology, cultivating ethical leaders, ethical issues with AI, artificial intelligence, and so forth. Then take a look or consult video and other web resources for facts and other information about the topic. Keep track of your sources. And then essentially what you're doing is you're creating a 10 to 15 minute presentation like the group presentation that illustrates your understanding of a minimum of 2 major course concepts. Be sure to cite any images and information on the slides. In other words, give credit where credit is due. And some of the concepts may include competition or employment law, effects on and power of stakeholders, including corporate reputation, the need for a policy, the impact to an environment or the environment, ability to compete. Prepare for your presentation by keying your speaking notes. These can be done in Word, etc. And then presentations will be determined. The order of presentations will be determined a little bit later on. So that is the individual presentation. Now that what I've done is I've gone through all of the assignments. There are no due dates here. I've removed all of them. The due dates are found within the course schedule, as we saw earlier, stating week 3, week 4, week 5. I can always add the deadlines if you guys would like, if that makes it a little bit easier. I can certainly do that. Moving over to the discussions tab. There are no discussions, so there are no discussion forum posts that you have to do in this course. And then finally, we have quizzes. So you can see there is a midterm exam and a final exam as mentioned in the course schedule. So just going back to the course outline. So for week 1, now if I was present, we would be having an online class, and we would be discussing the reflection on the behavior of corporations, and specifically chapter 1 of the textbook. Now, you guys are probably familiar. On the left-hand side here, if I scroll down, right underneath the course outline is class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, etc., etc. And if I click on class 1, these are things that you're going to be able to see. There is number 1, a class 1 handout regarding social media use and the workplace. So this is to be read. So you're supposed to read this, okay? So please do so. And social media use is a very, very hot topic in the workplace. And it's not a very long document. In fact, if you look at it, it's not even 2 pages, right? I mean, it's barely over 1 page. But you can see, just when you're taking a look at some of these bullets here, social media can do damage to the company, including reputational damage, et cetera, et cetera. And just a very common example would be someone who goes ahead, probably outside of working hours, and posts something on their Facebook page slamming their company. And they don't really think much of it. But that kind of action can certainly lead to termination, because the company, if they find out about it, can say, you have caused reputational damage to us by going on social media where you may have hundreds, thousands, millions of followers, who knows, and you have slandered the organization. So please read this particular document, this one-page document. Then right below it, we have the PowerPoint slides. Now here you can see there are almost 40 slides. So it's quite a few. So you have some reading to do while I'm away. And chapter 1, it's the relationship between business and society. We have the outcomes. We have, well, a whole bunch of information, which I'll come back to in a second. But I also want to show you this last thing, which is called the MONDAC registration instructions. And here it's for free access to legal articles, and you would click on this and then provide some information in order to access this. And you do need access to this website for future work in this course. So please take care of that in the first week while I'm away. Going back to the PowerPoint slides. So I'm not going to go through all these slides because I don't think my voice would last, but we just take a look a little bit at just scrolling down here. You know, this very first slide here, the Canada's top CEOs, and in many cases, we have bank CEOs that would be following into this category, earn almost 200 times the average Canadian worker's salary. What message is this sending to Canadians? So give that some thought, because we'll talk about that in the course. In small groups, you don't need to worry about this in the first week. We can deal with this in the second week when we're in person. Discuss great things that businesses do that you have seen or heard about. If you follow the news, in many cases, you know that news focuses on negative things. But once in a while, they do focus on positive things. And, you know, regarding corporations, sometimes very positive things are announced in the news. So, you know, give some thought to some businesses that you've either seen or heard about or maybe worked in where you were really impressed with the culture, the focus of the business, their awareness of, for example, the environment, their application of a strong ethical culture, perhaps including a whistleblower policy, which many companies don't have, etc. And of course, on the flip side, there are good things, and then of course there are negative things, which is why it's showing all of the smoke coming out of this particular factory. Bad behavior by businesses that you have seen or heard about. Okay, so I'm done regarding the slides. We'll delve further into that, but insofar at a later date. But insofar as week 1, you've got some reading to do. You've got, as I said, class 1 handout. I'd like you to take a look at the slides, but the slides are really secondary because the textbook is the most important thing, and therefore chapter 1, reading chapter 1 is the most important thing. Once you've read chapter 1, if you want to take a look at the slides, fantastic, absolutely. The slides are reinforcing what you've read in the textbook. But chapter 1 is the most important. So read that as well, as well as this article on social media use and the workplace. And so that's the reading. The other thing is just taking the necessary time to go through my learning through the course, identifying all the assignments, making sure you jot down uh, when they're due, which obviously you need to take a look at the course schedule to get those due dates, because you don't want to miss a deadline, because as mentioned, it's a zero, right? So you want to make sure you get all those deadlines down and read through some of the instructions. And you can even start working in advance on some of those assignments, because you'll have a little bit of time to do that. Okay, so that's pretty much it for tonight. I've given you the overview of the course. I've identified the various assignments and when they're due, and then as well the readings. And what we're going to do when we meet in person for the first time on September 18, we're going to go around and each of us will introduce ourselves. So, we know each other. You guys probably know each other in the class, but I don't know any of you. So we will do that, introduce ourselves so that we're comfortable moving forward for the next 13, 12 weeks. And we'll have a great learning experience. And I look forward to meeting with all of you. You've got my email address, so you can reach out to me at any time. Although I should say from September 8 until September 12, I'm not going to be looking at emails, so I will not be able to respond to you during that time. But outside of that time, feel free, and I will get back to you as stated within the 12 hours. So that's it. I welcome all of you to the course. I am looking forward to meeting all of you and working with all of you over the next 3 months on the various topics we'll be covering. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you in person in about 10 days. Well, no, I guess in about 2 weeks' time, a little bit less than 2 weeks' time. We'll see you then. Good night.